My name's Andrew Higgs. I'm manager of the Business Advisory Services team here at Trade and Investment Queensland. Really pleased to have everybody on the line today. I'd like to first start by introducing Shiraz Engineer, who is the head of Asialink Business Academy. Today's session will be recorded and will be able to be viewed after. Over to you, Shiraz.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Andrew. Warm welcome, everyone, to our webinar on e-commerce in India. Thank you to the team at Trade Investment Queensland for hosting us. Andrew, as you mentioned, my name is Shiraz Engineer. I'm the head of the Asialink Business Academy at Asialink Business, and I will also be your moderator for today's discussion. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the lands on which we gather here today. I'm on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I'd also like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are on the call with us or maybe joining us shortly. Now, just in terms of some housekeeping for this session that we have on e-commerce in India, I'm going to encourage everyone to please keep your questions and hold them, put them into the chat box as well, because we'll have plenty of opportunity to answer your questions. Just in terms of the outline of today's session, we will be exploring the e-commerce platforms and ecosystems in India when it comes to e-commerce. We'll be touching on digital social marketing. We'll also be unpacking some of the digital consumer insight, as well as touching on risks associated with e-commerce in India. So as part of our panel, I will introduce them shortly, but we're going to go into opening remarks by Abhinav Bhatia, who is the Queensland's Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner, South Asia. Once the opening remarks are completed, we'll go into our panel discussion. I've got a few questions to go through, but as I've indicated, I'm going to encourage everyone to please put your questions into the chat box, because as we go through, we'll look to cover and answer and have your questions answered as well. Abhinav, if I can please hand over to yourself to provide opening remarks.
Thank you, Shiraz and Andrew. Thank you to both of you to put this forum together and cover this exciting topic. But who knew a bunch of Indians and Australians getting together and talking e-commerce and not cricket, which is very, very odd. But my love for cricket and upcoming Border Gavaskar Trophy, I'm going to keep referring cricket throughout. I think the first analogy that I am drawing, that when the e-commerce boom started in India, everybody thought it's a T20 format. It's a new thing. It's a fad and it's going to go away. Soon people will come back to their old habits. And they were wrong. And I think the validation of that happened when Walmart saw this growth and acquired an Indian e-commerce player, Flipkart, for $10 billion. A $10 billion startup acquisition just changed the game, and everybody sort of took notice. Oh God, this is real. And this is a massive market that is going to continue. And I think all the way till COVID-19, that sentiment was there, and COVID-19 further boosted that. So what was just e-commerce became quick commerce, live commerce, social commerce. And I think you're going to hear a lot about how this is changing the Indian ecosystem, especially in the quick commerce side, from ordering a single avocado to an iPhone, everything you are able to get in 10 minutes delivered to your home at your doorstep. It's just so fascinating how this ecosystem is evolving, but more so because what all is happening in Indian demographics. And I want to spend a minute on why this excitement is there. India is the 5th largest economy in the world, with over 1 billion people. 500 million of those are under the age of 25. And it's estimated that all the way up to 2070, India is going to be the youngest country in the world. with that kind of size and demographics, it's something very interesting and should be taken notice of. But I think a lot of people talk about affordability, and I think that's a very valid concern, that per capita GDP for India is still very low. Is there a real market? And that's a valid concern, and I know speakers will address that. Uh, right now, I'm giving you current estimates that about 6 to 7% of India is considered premium consumer to upper mid consumer. That is about 90 million people, 90, almost 3, 4 times the population of Australia. And this number is expected to go to 300 million consumers by 2030. A 300 million premium consumers, I think it's hard to ignore. And I think that is what we want companies in Queensland to be aware of this opportunity. And that's why the BAS team thought putting this forum together will provide that opportunity to learn about the market. There are some great examples of Australian brand Swiss, which has done very well. Irish brand Glanbia Nutrition, which is dominating over 50% of the whey protein market in India. Of Chinese mobile phone OnePlus dominating the Indian mid segment smartphone market, and all through digital first strategy, e-commerce strategy. And now slowly they are getting into the phygital side. They're doing the physical aspect as well. And the nuances of how this all is evolving is quite exciting. I don't want to just pour honey in your ear and say everything is hunky dory. Come to India and there are a billion people waiting to buy your products. That's not true. There are a lot of challenges with regards to regulations, with regards to import duties. So a lot of that is improving, and especially with regards to import duties. For example, after the free trade agreement signing between Australia and India, which is AIECTA, Australia-India Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, a lot of products are now duty free, or the duty have been slashed. For example, cosmetics were at 20% earlier, and now it's 0%, opening doors for many Queensland cosmetic companies to come into India. I won't take too much time here, but I'll just mention that if you are a new Queensland company that hasn't engaged with TIQ, Andrew, Simon, and the entire BAS team, business advisory team, are there to support you, to ensure that you can get this support service from Trade and Investment Queensland. And the service support comes free of cost. In fact, there are several funding and grant programs available by TIQ that you can take advantage when you are coming into a new market. And in India, we have Annette and Samiksha. If you can also switch on your cameras, Annette and Samiksha, and say hello, so that everybody knows that they are here to support you. And if you talk to some of the Queensland companies, they will tell you that they have been fabulous in getting the company successful in the market. That is all I'll talk about right now. Shiraz, over to you.
Super, Abhinav, thank you very much for that overarching framing. I am very, very glad that you've highlighted 1 billion people are not your target market, but as you clearly pointed out, that 90 million is still a very considerable number, and that will continue to climb. But even those 90 million, it's really understanding who they are, where they are, how they shop. India cannot be considered one big homogenous market. There are many Indias in India. I might just continue to pick up that theme, which you mentioned, of cosmetics as well. So when we are even thinking about cosmetics, you have to be thinking about the climate. In India, if you're in the north, it's dry, whereas in the west it can be more humid. So you need to understand those dynamics before you start looking at actually getting your products into market. But there's no one better to talk to us about getting products into market. So I'd like to introduce our panel members. And I will get them to turn on their cameras if we're ready. But we've got Mehta, who's the co-founder of Digichefs, which is an Indian digital marketing agency. We've got Dr. Lucky Yadav, who's the CEO of an India e-commerce agency and service provider. We have Sayan Mahapatra for Global Trade Business Development Manager, Reliance Retail, which is an India e-commerce platform. And we have Aaron Littlewood, the General Manager, Asia Pacific at KEVIN.MURPHY. Now, it gives me great pleasure to bring in the panel. And as part of the first opening question that I have, and Deep, I might go in the same order that I set this up, is to ask you, what are some of the latest trends that you're observing in the India market when it comes to e-commerce? And feel free to talk about the Indian consumer, but we'll keep these brief. And as part of that opening, feel free to also just do a little bit of positioning around Digichefs as well.
Hey Shiraz, thank you so much for that warm introduction, and thank you everyone for joining this session. I am Deep. I'm one of the founders here at Digichefs. We are a digital marketing consulting company based out here in Mumbai, in India. We are a 9-year-old company, a 65 people team. We take care of end-to-end digital solutions for brands across the globe. We have several clients that we work with from India, of course, and apart from India, we have from Australia, Southeast Asia, the US, Europe, and so on. To dive into some trends, since I'm the first one to talk about these trends, let me talk about some macro trends to put them out of the way first. We spoke about how there's a large population in the country right now that is assumed to be the market for everyone. But just to put some numbers to this population, we have at this point in time somewhere around 50 to 60% penetration of internet across the country, out of which only 6 to 7% is actually doing e-commerce at this point in time. Now, this is again a very interesting and important factor for anyone wanting to step into the Indian territory for their products or services, is to note that at this point in time, the total number of users who are actually transacting online, making a purchase online, is between 6 to 7% of the total population. Of course, 80% of these transactions that happen through a mobile phone, which automatically means that anything that you do, you have to keep a mobile first approach. Abhinav also mentioned about quick commerce, which is picking up extremely well. Around 8 years ago, people thought that who needs quick commerce when you can simply go down and we're talking about India, where a grocery store is just a few minutes of a walk away from your house. But so who needs quick commerce? But at the end of the day, they survived and they did extremely well. In fact, the kind of valuations they've been getting is amazing. The kind of GMV they've been able to scale their companies to is crazy. So again, quick commerce is definitely something that we should be looking at. Personal care, skincare, beauty and cosmetics, grocery and food supplies are some of the top categories over there. Apart from you can get an iPhone delivered, you can get a PlayStation delivered, you can get your clothes delivered, whatever you want, you can get it in less than 15 minutes. So lots happening in the quick commerce space as well. I would want to sort of summarize my points from a trend point of view by mentioning about D2C. D2C is again something that has picked up extremely well over the last 10 years. When I say D2C, I mean that there are homegrown brands which manufacture within the country, eventually launch themselves on marketplaces, primarily Amazon. Amazon currently holds more than a 50% market share in terms of number of orders across marketplaces in the country. So they launch with probably Amazon or a Nykaa in case they are from a skincare or cosmetics segment. And then they try to scale themselves up. A trend within this macro trend is that essentially you have very large margins that get eaten away by a marketplace like an Amazon, considering the commissions that you pay for them, the logistics cost, considering that you have to incur some returns and refunds and replacements within this within the business economics that you have over there. And hence a lot of these D2C brands eventually are shifting their way to build a storefront of their own. And that's a natural progression that most brands in India currently are seeing, and that's again something that brands entering into the country might have to keep in mind, that essentially in the long run having your own store footprint is definitely going to be worthwhile. So yeah, a little bit from my side. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much for highlighting the quick commerce piece, and ultimately that long-term play. You do need to look at it can't just be online. You do have to look at the offline model. Perfect. Lucky, if I could bring you into the conversation at this point again, and your introduction as well as then framing what's the key trend you're seeing.
Thank you, Shiraz. Firstly, thanks a lot for inviting us to be a part of this. These are very exciting times to be in India. We are like Abhinav mentioned, we are top 5 economies in the world. There is a burgeoning upper middle class, which is looking at buying international products, spending on them. The economy is growing. We are very well placed geopolitically. So this is a very good time to be in India. So very optimistic times. We are importing almost worth of 70 billion of worth of goods already. So the Indian audience is a traveled audience. It's an evolved audience. They understand the quality of good product or the international product which is coming in. And of course, like Deep also mentioned, that it's very easy in India now to just sit in the comfort of your house and get whatever product that you want. We definitely see a great trends regarding the consumer in India wanting to try and prefer international product. We are Indians, we love everything imported. The minute it says that made somewhere else outside of India, we'll say, oh, I want this. What I would like to say to brands in Australia, and we work with almost 10 plus countries at globally. If you have a product which you think has a unique proposition, it has a certain quality ingredient, it sets apart from the usual products that people are using, you should definitely come to India. There is an audience which will lap up your product. What I would also advise is that you just need to strategize how you plan your entry. The trade treaty is very, very friendly for us right now. Some of the categories have almost 0% import duty, and some have reducing import duty in the next coming few years. Gear up, show up, and India is waiting for you with open arms. That's what I would say right now.
Super. Thank you for that, Lucky. And we'll continue to explore what that means in terms of having a unique value proposition. Sayan, if I can bring you into the conversation at this part.
Thank you so much, Siraj, and hello everyone. So myself, Sayan. So currently I am working in JioMart Reliance Retail. It's a like e-commerce platform, but I had experience by like working on Amazon on global selling in import like business. And personally, I handle more than 8 billion business in Amazon on import sites. So basically, if we see the trends, so e-commerce actually help D2C brand to grow large faster and reach to the customer in a faster way. Let me come up with some numbers by category wise, which actually help everyone to understand like how each and every category plays a unique role in the e-commerce platform. So first, the electronic category, which market size near about 25 to 30 billion right now, and which expected to grow near about 45 to 50 billion in 2030, with a growth rate of CAGR of 10 to 12%. Then the next category comes is like fashion and apparel, which also get a lot of imports and also get manufactured. But right now the market size on e-commerce platform, if we see all across e-commerce platform, it near about 20 to 25 billion, which is projected to grow near about 40 billion by 2030. Then we come groceries and essential. That's where e-commerce, that's what quick commerce actually play a role. Right now, the market size near about 14 billion, and which expected to grow near about 35 billion by 2030. And then come like beauty and personal care, which right now is like 10 to 12 billion and growing near about 18 to 20 billion by 2030. And then comes on health and wellness, which is right now 6 to 8 billion and maybe grow to 12 billion by 2030. So, and then comes the home and furniture, because in India, the trends is like to buy the furniture is like everyone go to a local shop or local supermarket or the furniture store to buy this furniture. But right now we can see these trends that the furniture also gets sold on e-commerce platform, and we are selling heavy and bulky products. Right now, the market size is 5 to 6 billion, but it expected to grow near about 12 to 15 billion. So in these categories, we can see a huge potential where a lot of foreign brands are coming. I have worked with Austrian companies, Brazilian companies, Chinese companies as well, and they have a key key importance to grow on the e-commerce platform. Then, if we see on the trends, yes, so the tier 2 and tier 3 cities are also engaged in e-commerce things. This is a very important point, that before we can see the tier 1 cities are especially engaged into the e-commerce platform, but we can see this customer from tier 2 and tier 3 cities are coming into this. They have a sustainable focus on the market. They have a lot of facilities provided by e-commerce platform, even like exchange offer. Like if anyone buying a mobile, they can also exchange the mobile on the same platform, which actually help customer to get a better experience and sort out their old products. Then comes this festive and flash sales, which actually help e-commerce platform to grow and sells a huge number of orders and fulfill huge number of orders during these things. And India is full of festivals. So we are coming up with near about 30 to 20 kind of festival season sales in a year. So it's definitely good. And as everyone mentioned, imported products in India really sells well when it have a unique point and huge potential in the market. Yeah.
Sayan, again, great point. And I might just pick up on the festival one as well. You've got to be thinking festival from multiple perspectives. There's festivals at a national level, but then you've also got festivals within your cities and states as well. So pricing becomes, you've got to consider how pricing, you can't just have one fixed pricing. You'll have different pricing, whether it's end of quarter, whether it's festivals, different festivals. Again, there'll be different pricing. And I know we've just finished Diwali, which I can only imagine the volumes would have completely spiked during that period.
Exactly.
Super. Again, thank you. And we'll look to continue to unpack that. I can see the chat's also going. There are a number of comments being put into the chat box. But before we go there, I'd love to introduce our final panel speaker. Aaron, if I can like to welcome you. And I know your perspective that you're sharing is that of a Queensland business that's been operating in the India market now. So warm welcome.
Yeah, g'day everybody. Thanks, Shiraz, for the intro. KEVIN.MURPHY, we're a professional hair care brand. So effectively, we sell to hairdressers and hair salons. That's the primary focus for us. We've been around for about 20 years. And traditionally, we've always been very B2B focused. COVID kind of changed things a bit for us, forced us into more of a B2C model, but our industry was anyway going that way. In terms of India, we've been present in India since 2016. However, we've made, since 2022, we made a change in our distribution partner there. We took things a lot more seriously. We took a much more structured approach to the business, and our business has dramatically changed as a result since. And India is currently our fastest growing market globally. What's interesting is, as I said, we're kind of very salon, offline, brick and mortar focused. However, in India, our e-commerce business already represents about 20%. So our e-commerce B2C business is about 20%, whereas in other markets, it's typically somewhere between 5 and 10% on a good front. So we're seeing a big change in how we go to market in India. The e-commerce side of things is really accelerating our growth there. But I think one of the really interesting things about the market too, especially in beauty, for those of you that are in the beauty business, is the presence, and I'll make a shout out to Sayan and the Reliance group, with beauty stores such as Tira, for example, which is, it's similar to, say, a Mecca or a Sephora, where you have these very, very beautiful high-end beauty stores in key cities, and at the same time, the product is online with that platform. So the consumer can have an online experience. They can also have an offline experience where they go in and experience the product in a brick and mortar store. And I think that that's a really, really interesting model that's also working very well for us at the moment.
Super. Thank you very much for that, Aaron. And again, as part of the session, we'll continue to unpack your model and strategy over there. Lucky, I want to bring you into the conversation now on, we know agencies like yourself help businesses to launch, and we can already see in the chat box, people are talking about, tariffs. Tariffs is one part we're talking about in certain areas. There's already, drop in duties across certain categories. We can also see people talking about the legal elements. So how can, businesses in Queensland looking at India, what is it that organizations like yourself, businesses like yourself, how do you all help the consumers? Really, quick commerce is one thing, but how do we get set up quickly?
Shiraz, we started Globali with a very simple, mission, not just one single problem that we were looking to solve. That how do we make India entry very simple and seamless for international brands? That was the only problem we were looking at solving. So we went ahead and put together a boutique solution where we do everything for the brands in-house under a single roof. We realize that when you're looking to enter into India, basically the government of India rule says that to sell into India, either you need to have your own PE, a permanent establishment, or you need an importing partner like Globali. That sort of becomes your India arm. So we sort of act as the India office for any international brand that's looking into India. And India geography, like we've been discussing about how big it is, what large audience size it is. Having said all of that, it can also be a bit confounding for somebody sitting in an international geography and trying to navigate the India audience or India population, or even the e-commerce journey. So we decided that we will become that solution, that the brand who's working with us does not need to speak to anybody else or get any other partner if they're working with us. So we take care of everything. We pretty much just say that hand over your inventory to us, X your country, and we pick it up from there. So from global logistics to compliance in India, importing part, being your importer on record, your seller on record, launching you on the right e-commerce channels. Like, again, there are multiple e-commerce channels that are present in India. There are big ones which everyone knows about. There are category specific, like for example, Nykaa, Myntra work better for fashion, Nykaa Beauty and Tira work better for beauty. Then Amazon and Flipkart work better for consumer goods in general. There's quick commerce which is picking up. So we sort of work with the brand to strategize that what is the right launch for them. Then we also work on like a India P&L plan for them for the first year, that this is how your first year is looking like, so that the brand is really clear that what are the numbers which are coming in. And then we take care of the entire execution, their compliance in India, their P&L, their funds reallocation, everything is done by us. Also, there are different compliances to different categories. I think somebody was already writing in the chat that, how does the compliance work? How does the legal work? So they're separate for, like, there's CDSCO for beauty, there is FSI for food, there's BIS for electronics. So we help and we work very closely with the brand to make sure that they go through their entire paperwork, their compliance. So everything that is needed, if I have to really put it very simply, we are like their one-stop shop in India. So that's how the solution works.
Super. Thank you. Thanks for that, Lucky. Sayan, I'd like to bring you into it at this point and sort of stay on this theme over here. What happens when businesses want to actually come down that route of, a permanent establishment? They decide, no, I want to do this myself. what do e-commerce platforms, whether it's Reliance, the broader Amazon, what work should businesses be preparing for and undertaking if they decided to go down that permanent establishment path? What is it that you're looking for in these businesses?
So this is a very good question, Shiraz, and this is definitely this is a question which I faced a lot of time from the international brands. So basically, the brands who are willing to directly come to India and want to set up their entity, they have to take care about the legal and compliances things by themselves. Okay, to by setting a company in India is like you have to register a GST, goods and service tax, and also a company in like India. To get a GST in India, they have to have an Indian shareholder partner, which is like a compliance things from Indian side, Indian government side. They have to maintain, so they have to find a shareholder itself. They work with all the legal rules, regulation, taxation systems by themselves. So by setting up a company, they have to have hired the people for each and every like department to set it up. Then they have to identify what are the certification they like require in terms of what kind of product they are importing. Okay, just like you mentioned, like they have ISO certificate, they have a BIS certificate, like Bureau of Indian Standard, they have WPC certificate, they have for like food, FSI certificate. So a lot of certificates are there. They have to take care of each and every legal compliances. Once they get this kind of documents, then they can only come to a e-commerce platform to register by themselves. Otherwise, it's a very to like do all these certificates, its minimum takes like 3 to 6 months or more than that, which is a like really time consuming thing, where actually a agency like Globally can help them to enable the market, to enable into the marketplaces very quickly and very fast. That's where the things goes. And definitely they have to take care about their product, their quality, they have to mention, and the price point, which is really a challenge to do a sustainable business in India. They have to take care about the packaging and labeling. So there have certain rules on the packaging and labeling, that what kind of pricing should be mentioned, what are the ingredients should be there, and how the package should be looks like. They have certain rules. They have to maintain those stuffs. And then they have to figure out their logistics from like Australia to India, then inside India, how they can fix this logistics up. Then there have these pricing things, and payment terms and conditions are also different with other marketplaces. They have to take care about that one also. Each and every platform have their unique kind of models to work with. So there are B2B model, there are B2C model. So both they need to figure out, and definitely they have to have a kind of agency, or they have to do a very deep survey on the market, um, including all of the things. Yep.
Super, Sayan. Thank you. That's really, really helpful. And I think when you start to unpack this, this is that element of complexity that's there in the market. And it's not about being brave, but it's more about being prepared and ready and understand what's required and how to go about it. Aaron, I'd like to bring you in because, as a Queensland company that's been in India now for close to 8 years, as you mentioned, you launched the first time back in 2016, reassessed your model in 2022, brought in a new distributor, but keen to understand, and unpack for businesses that are thinking about it. How did you go about approaching the India market? What was that driver to say, yes, it's India? What was some of the work that you did initially to kick it off? And I might just add on one more piece to that is reflecting on that. What would you do differently? What would you have done differently?
I think just the 2016 start, I would say, was a little bit of a gentleman's handshake at a trade forum or a trade event where, someone had seen our booth at a trade fair and said, oh, I can bring your brand to India. And our owners said, okay, well, here's the price list. Go and knock yourself out and see how you go. And after, 3-4 years, I think we were present in half a dozen salons across only 3 cities, Mumbai, Delhi, and I think we had 2 in Chennai, which wasn't exactly what we'd hoped for after 4 or 5 years at it. So one of the things that I did was I just looked at who are the potential partners out there. So I looked at our industry, who are the players in the beauty industry. I really did a little bit of research on the market and who the key players were. I talked to people. I used my network to find out as much as I could. Then what I did is I'd had a number of cold calls from companies that had said, we can, you get the emails that, we can bring your brand to such and such a market. So I contacted a number of them and asked if they were interested. Most of them said they were. And then what I asked is, can you put together a business plan for me? And I even created a template for what I wanted to see from their business plan. And it was everything from what would be your organizational structure, marketing, sales, education, investment, what would be required from us from a regulatory standpoint. Lots of questions like this. And I think one of the questions that I did ask as well was, what role would we play in your company's portfolio of brands? We recognise that most of the partners we were looking at were distributors. They had multiple brands, so we really wanted to understand what was different. From that, I actually shortlisted 3 companies. I got them to do an even more in-depth business proposal for me, and then eventually I actually went and visited each of those potential partners. I spent a couple of days with each of them. I wanted to meet their clients. I wanted to see their offices. I wanted to see their warehouses. So I really spent time to kind of get a feel for these guys and what they offered, what their clients seemed to say about them. And eventually, with a bit more negotiation, I eventually settled on one. And it's absolutely been, for us, it's been the right partner. So that was really my approach to the market. I might talk a bit later about some of the questions that have come up with regards to like import duties and tariffs and things like that. I won't tackle that now. In terms of would I do anything differently, to be honest, not really, because I feel that I took quite a bit of time. I wasn't rushed into making a decision. This was going to be a long-term investment for us, this market. So I didn't need to speed through things. I did that due diligence on the different partners I wanted to work with. And I spent a lot of time, even when not necessarily just in the market, but talking to them on the phone, having video conferences with them to over time to get to know them better and better. And I think that's led to a very strong relationship that we have with our current partners.
Super, Aaron. Thank you. It's really, really helpful. Can I just, for businesses that are on the call, I think you've called out a number of things over here that potentially will be really helpful for them. And I just wanted to go over a few of these points and correct me if I've missed anything over here. But as part of that second round of 2022, when you've, reassessed, hey, I'm only in 3 cities after 5 years with very limited distribution, some of the things that you did when you were talking to potential distributors and asking them for their plans was really getting to understand what their structure was, their marketing plan, their sales plan, how they were going to go about, educating clients for your product, what were some of the regulatory requirements that were going to be needed, and then really calling out what role, your product portfolio would, what your product would play in their portfolio structure. I think that's really useful for businesses who are on the call to make a note of this, to have this over there. So as you're going in, talking to potential agencies, distributors, some of the things you want to be armed practically with. And that's really the intent of this session, is to give people some practical things they're going to be able to take away with. Now I want to shift gears. And Deep, I want to bring you in, but bring in a lens of, digital branding. You've clearly worked with a number of brands, both at an Australian level as well as at an international level. Keen to unpack over here on what you've seen being done successfully and even unsuccessfully for that matter of fact. So, we always learn from failures as well. So what have you seen some brands, international brands, do over here when they come into India that they've done really well and you've seen them pick this up? And then again, where have you seen them sort of fall over? And I'm keen to try and keep this again, not to some of the big end brands, but even some of the smaller, medium-sized brands. What have you seen over there? So really keen if you can share a few stories and examples out here.
Sure. Thanks for that question, Shiraz. Just to begin with, I think any brand wanting to enter into the Indian ecosystem should first do a very healthy market research exercise. I say this primarily because the problem that your product or service is trying to solve there in Australia may not be a problem here in India at this point in time. Or there is probably an alternative solution to that problem which is native to Indian culture, and it would be very difficult for the audience here to migrate from the kind of solution that they've been using right now to a completely new solution that you are trying to offer. So a very thorough market research exercise is definitely something that brands entering into the Indian ecosystem should consider. And I've seen that in several of my experiences with brands, not just from Australia, but from the UK and the US as well. That because the product solves a problem, you feel that there is an audience that will probably be ready to purchase this solution from me in India also may not always work. So that's where you begin. Beyond that, the conversation about selling in India in the e-commerce space is largely a conversation about price and trust. What I mean by price and trust over here is, let's break it down. So let's talk about price. What I mean by price is not that you have to have the cheapest product in the market. Indian customers are, of course, very vigilant in the kind of money they spend in brands. But they are always looking for value for money products rather than the cheapest of the products.
Yeah.
A simple anecdote over there is how we are probably the largest market for iPhone in the world right now. There are tons of very interesting Android mobile phones. We spoke about how OnePlus entered the ecosystem and also made a dent in the recent past. But the way the iPhone market has grown shows that if you have a product which is going to be stable for almost 3 years, it gives me an upscale sort of like a personality. It has all the basic features right there, and it helps me in doing my day-to-day job much more easily. Then we are ready to pay a premium for it. And there are several such products that we can talk about as examples. So the price conversation is a lot about value for money, and of course, some unit economics calculation will need to be done over there to try and see when you import a product from Australia to India, how you can set up your price in a way where it does not become an entry barrier in itself. If you are going to be maybe 1.5x or 2x of the most premium product here in India, it is going to be very difficult for the audience here to place a bet on trying your product out in the first place. The other conversation is about trust. Trust is largely about me believing if your product or solution is going to solve my problem, which is where there are a lot of activities that need to be done right. Of course, you need to build trust by having some people believe in you first, so that there is sort of like a network effect, and essentially there is a larger pool of an audience which believes in you and your products. Some larger brands essentially start with a celebrity endorsement for that matter. For example, we spoke about Swiss earlier in this conversation and how they launched here in India. So they launched with an Indian celebrity, Jacqueline Fernandez, and they actually went ahead and spoke about how the product helps, and they were slightly premium. The celebrity endorsement helped. They did a large number of activities with key opinion leaders or influencers, as you call them, on the social media front. And essentially because of which over the last 5 years, you've been hearing some or the other word about Swiss making some impact in the Indian ecosystem. Likewise, I'll tell you some examples from the kind of brands we worked in the past. We had a brand in the skincare segment which tried to crack the pricing bit very, very well. They were priced extremely aggressively. They launched on Amazon. However, after they had done enough discounting with Amazon, participation in sales campaigns with Amazon, there wasn't enough money left to do their trust building exercise, and that wasn't really wise of them, to be honest, at that point in time, and it hurt them. It slowed down their growth in the Indian market, and then essentially then they realized that how a balance between the two need to be kept. Likewise, there was another brand which did a lot of key opinion leadership sort of exercises, influencer campaigns, performance marketing campaigns on Amazon, on Mehta, and so on. However, their price was such that that it was difficult for a customer to actually try them out in the first place. And Indian customer is a spoiled customer, by the way. We have try and buy on Myntra, where we can order products, order clothes, we try them out, we even attend a couple of functions, and then we return it if we don't like it. So he's a spoiled customer. Indian customer is a spoiled customer. You need to ensure that there is enough value in the product, and you are doing enough trust building exercises at the end of the day to be able to arrive at making a dent in the market that ways. So yeah, this is broadly what I've seen in the recent past. Anything that I can chime further on, I should do that.
Yeah. And I want to just build on that point over there, which you've got on pricing and trust. We've got businesses that are on the call that come into that more of that small medium enterprise category. They don't have the same budgets as Swiss and Blackmores. So what's your top, if you had your top piece of advice or tip that you'd want to give them on digital and social marketing when they need to think, because you've got to spend, there's no doubt about that.
Correct.
You'll get lost
Correct.
if you don't do that. What's your piece of advice to businesses on how to think about digital and social marketing, knowing they have great products, but there's a limited amount that they can spend?
Correct. So first things first, I believe that brands or SMEs there in Australia at this point in time should not be thinking about entering India, but entering a city within India. Each city is a small subculture of sorts within the Indian ecosystem, right? So if you happen to say, okay, I want to launch pan India, I want distributors everywhere in the north, south, east, and west, and I'm going to be launching across marketplaces, and let's see what happens. Then you're going to be burning all your money in a very short duration, and you're not going to be able to survive in the market. Like we just heard how KEVIN.MURPHY actually required around 4 to 5 years to understand the ecosystem, spend some time, do a bit of local marketing within 3 cities, and then eventually scale up their plans, is what I would strongly recommend to any brand entering the Indian ecosystem. And by the way, it's very interesting to note that while we talk about India, we largely hear about Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, and Kolkata, these 4 to 5 cities. However, India is a lot more than these 5 cities. There are tons of upcoming sort of tier 2 cities which are now becoming metro, and I'll be transparent with you that some of them have better infrastructure than a Mumbai. A city like a Lucknow or a Hyderabad or a Baroda or an Ahmedabad or a Chandigarh would have a much better infrastructure available for logistics, for businesses to be able to survive in that ecosystem.
Correct. Thanks. Thanks, Deep. And I was going to say, this is exactly what Sayan said at the opening as well. You need to consider the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and something mentioned at the start. There are many Indias in India, so you need to understand that. Again, Aaron, I want to bring you in and continue to say on this theme over here of digital social marketing. Can you share a few things that KEVIN.MURPHY have done in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that actually the first strategy that we took was really influencer marketing. So our distributor, they use a PR and social media company that they work with, and secondly, they were kind of being socialites themselves. So they love the cameras, they love the the schmoozing and dining and all that sort of thing. So it was quite a good fit. We launched the brand in hair care. It's traditional to kind of do a hair show or something like that, but we basically launched the brand by getting high-end bars in Mumbai and Delhi and Chennai, inviting all the customers, putting a bar tab on, and just creating a bunch of activities that would create social media content. It was very different to the traditional approach that we'd take in market, and it created a huge amount of coverage for the brand. It was a lot of fun to be part of, and it was really interesting. We continued those and we've done those on a regular basis just to basically bring influencers, and we bring in, let's say, consumer influencers, but also trade influencers as well. So we bring in top hairdressers from around the country, as well as influential consumers that fit our profile. The other thing that we've done is we've created experiences. So we've taken influencers to salons, and we've done experience days in the salons where they can experience the products, but not only the products, but the services that come with the products. So they kind of get that holistic feeling of what goes on, and what the brand can be beneficial for. The other thing we have done is we have gone down, let's say on the e-commerce front, we do invest in some of the more traditional methods because I think it's necessary. So that includes things like, they call them PLA, so product listing ads, display, banner, inline ads, curation ties, all that sort of thing we do invest behind. In some cases we win, in some cases we lose. It's a little bit of experimenting. It's the same with influencers, to be honest. Like you think you might have a great influencer that's going to bring your brand to the next level, and you find out that actually, a huge number of the followers are fake or whatever. You win some, you lose some, as I say. It's a matter of just time in the market, trying different things, fail fast, learn fast, don't be discouraged, and keep on.
And Aaron, is this something you're getting advice from your team on the ground in India on these? Hey,
I'd say, to be honest, I'm certainly not an expert. I have a knowledge of the Indian market, but I would not say I'm an Indian market expert. I also would not say that I'm an e-commerce or social media or influencer marketing expert. But I think it also came down to the choice of partner that we looked at. We knew that this was going to be an area that was going to be important for us, and hence we went with a partner that had those capabilities. And we connect with them regularly. We align on where we want to focus, the sort of activities we want to do. We combine in all of our social media activations. We combine global content with locally created content. It's quite a good mix. Whether I've got that balance right or not, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel that we're finding a way, and it seems to be having a decent impact.
Very, very good. I want to bring Sayan and Lucky into this. So, but continuing on thinking about Indian consumers and how we think about foreign versus domestic products. I know you said that we're willing to try. We want these foreign products, but I want businesses to know that in multiple categories, we've got some really well established Indian high-end products also out there. So businesses that are on the call shouldn't just think about, hey, we've got clean, green, high-end products. The Indian market also has domestically homegrown high-end value products. But there is still that sentiment around, hey, if it's in something international, but at the same time, we've got to balance value for money and the price points. Just want to know if there's any overarching comments or thoughts that you have on that. Lucky, welcome your thoughts first, and then Sayan, yours.
So that's a good question, Shiraz. Because they could be. So how just to come on, how do Indians or the audience evaluate it? Of course, India is a price-sensitive audience, but since we work with a lot of brands in India, we have seen that the consumer, if they see worth in that product, they're willing to pay a premium for it. So it brings me back to my initial point that, what is your USP? And especially when it comes to product which people have to consume, whether it's, nutraceuticals, whether it's a wellness product, whether it's skincare, which they have to apply, uh, audience is very selective about that, because they know that this is directly going to maybe impact my wellness or my health, or how I look or my skin. So they're willing to try for look at ingredients, how is it sourced, how is it manufactured, what is the origin. And there is a very strong leaning of Indian audience towards international products, because what happens is that they're not really looking for a cheaper substitute for it. When it comes to fashion or jewelry or footwear or more outwardly things, or consumer electronics, they tend to see that, okay, fine, let me see what's really available as a affordable option for me there. So definitely in beauty and wellness, we definitely see the Indian audience leaning towards international products. We also see a similar leaning in beauty. Sephora, Tira, and Shopper Stop Beauty. There's just this huge onslaught of international beauty brands coming into India. And believe me, all of them are successful. We've had Kiehl's, the like of Clinique for a while now. Now we have, Rare Beauty. There's this whole competition around which international brands to bring into India. There's this, of course, there's an advent of K beauty, but there's great audience for Australian beauty as well. So like I said, and then coming to the food category, now Indian audience is well traveled. They want to try those food products, the wellness product. Just to take an example of Manuka honey, it has such high import duty, but even then it sells really well in India. So there could be like a almost 100x difference in the local Indian honey that sells and the Manuka honey, which is high quality selling in India. Still, audience is buying it. So when it comes to food products, snacks, any food item which they feel can have a direct impact on your health, especially post COVID, we see a lot of audience lapping up product which are related to wellness. They will not question it. They think that this could be something which could good for my family. They will go ahead and invest in it. So I think that in terms of and then of course coming to the finer things in life, like the Australian wine or the Australian lamb or poultry, again, Indian audience looks at it that, okay, it must be sourced in a certain way, the livestock is reared in certain way, and they're willing to sort of invest in it. So food, beauty, wellness, I think those are some of the top categories which Indian audience is absolutely open to try and experiment with when it comes to international, simply because we feel that you would have gone through very high standards of production and manufacturing, and you bring in some ingredients which maybe don't occur naturally in India.
Correct. No, that's a really good perspective, and it's something to worth highlight as part of your story as well for brands. That unique piece that's unique to just which part of Australia, and telling that story.
Yes, absolutely. And how are you? Why are you just like if I have to summarize it, as long as we can say why does it come at a certain price? If we are able to justify to the audience, they're absolutely open to buy the product.
Yeah, super. Sayan, any is your perspective the same on this?
So basically, there have this movement is going on, which is called vocal for local. Okay, so where definitely Indian consumer are trusting these Indian brands. They want to say like, okay, this is made by India, this is manufactured in India. So they have a customer emotion is going to this. But if we see on category basis, this is the electronics category, beauty, there are some of the Indian brands are coming up. But if we see the electronics category, 80% are getting imported. This is just things like local leveling is happening or local assembly is happening, but the main things are getting imported from China or other countries. Okay, the next part is the value for money things. If you just justify what just like he told, if you justified your product with the price, your quality with the price, it will definitely sell out very well in the market. And definitely there is another thing which I want to highlight, that import brands are definitely play an important role in luxury segment. Whatever matters in the luxury segment in India, all the brands are imported. So there have a huge demand in that luxury segment and a mid-range segment where we can explore product to product wise. Yeah.
Perfect. The one thing I'm going to ask our audience, because I know this has come up, and obviously me being from India, it's just something it's been ingrained in me. But we keep talking about value for money, and it's something that's so common for all of us. It's not a term I often see brought up in Australia as often. So it's something I'm going to encourage you to look at as an Australian business when you go like, these guys keep talking about value for money, value for money. Um, spend a bit of time as part of your research to really see what we mean when we say value for money. I want to sort of change angles just a little bit, but I'm going to encourage questions to please come through in the chat box. But I want to take a slightly different angle over here and change gears into risks. Um, you know, what are some of those inherent risks that we see when it comes to doing business, e-commerce in India? Lucky, I want to stay with you, for this particular one first, and then Sayan before we go to Aaron. So, what are your views on key risks over here? But I also want to say, what can we do to mitigate that?
So I'll start with the good news. Like I said earlier as well, that this is a great time to be in India and there is an audience waiting for your product. One. Number two, the import policy and import regulations in India are absolutely in favor of the brand and not the importer. Once we have imported your product as the importer on record, the government holds me liable and responsible to make sure that the brand, is kept posted about, the transactions, the sales, and the funds are repatriated back to the brand. So there, I give it to the government that the import policies are very friendly to the brand which is looking into coming to India. There is no way an importer can continue to import if he has, your IEC code is evaluated and your ratings come down, and you ultimately can get banned if you have not treated your importer or the brand fairly. So that's the good part. Coming to the risk, Shiraz, with all our understanding of the market, my own experience of being working with brands for over close to 20 years now, are doing very in-depth analysis of how the India audience or the geography works. There is nothing that still prepares us to tell a foolproof plan to the brand that yes, you will work in India for sure. We can do our bit of analysis, our research. We actually do a great research in terms of working with the marketplace teams. There are some great tools that you can look at to see that what is the current market size of your product, what is the current price of your product, what is the number of orders. Also we can see that how much is the India importing this product and how much is it selling online. All of that analysis we can do, but ultimately, will the product get accepted and become a success in India? There is no foolproof strategy to that. That's one of the risks that you will have to sort of come in. We can cushion it for you. We can give you intelligent insights about it, but ultimately you have to come here and figure it out on your own. That does the audience ultimately accept you? That's one of the top challenges for every brand across category to become to do the product market fit right and become a success in India. Because when you do, we say rest is history, because volumes can be crazy in India, but you have to look at coming into another geography as starting a new business. A lot of time brands don't have that patience. They feel India is a great geography, I'm a great product, and I'm a success from day one. You have to go back to the time when you were starting your business and look at a new geography as that there is a runway to success. There's the first 6 months to 1 year which will go by, which will be just settling into the new geography and understanding your consumer. So please be prepared for that. Number three is the compliance part. You have to be patient with it, especially beauty. India works at its own pace. We want to really make sure, like I said, that because the laws are so much in favor of the brand and not really the importing company, the government bodies make sure that they go through the compliance very thoroughly. So the beauty compliance, which is CDSO, can anyway take between 3 to 6 months. So build the compliance part into your business plan. Your top costs when you're launching into India, I would say, would be your logistics, your inventory, and your compliance. So have sort of plan that in your business and have your separate funds allocated for that, and be prepared that you are not getting any serious revenue coming back to you in the first year, because your first 6 months is investment heavy. So those are some of the pitfalls and risks that I would tell the brands that they have to be prepared for. And of course we are there to make it as comfortable for them as possible.
Oh, super. Thank you. Lucky, I want to, Sayan, I want to bring you into it, but I also want to just overlay a question that's been brought in, which is around, contract manufacturing, packaging in India to reduce that unit cost. And if there are any sort of, if you're aware of any of those incentives, but I also want to just highlight if anything is done in India, we then have the overlay of what's often referred to in that labeling part, which is the MRP or maximum retail pricing that gets brought in. And I think it's worth unpacking that for a minute or so for the Australian businesses on what MRP is and what that can mean for them.
Sure. So, come to the point of manufacturing. Okay, so how to contact a manufacturer, or if they import in a like bulk size for a like, for example, like this honey, they get import in like a drum or like big barrel. Okay, then they repackage in India in a like small like units, then they get sold, and definitely it's actually helped to reduce the cost and come in a pocket-friendly budget to buy this product. Like even if it is expensive, but still it is not too much expensive that customer cannot buy. So there have certain websites you can check for the manufacturer. There have certain like links, or they can connect with us to find out the right manufacturer for the right things. And definitely in like India, there have lot of trade shows where manufacturer directly come and seek for these people or this brand to like enable the opportunity for doing the remanufacturing or like doing their packaging in the like India. Now come to the MRP. MRP is stable as maximum retail price in India, which definitely you have to mention on your product package. But in India, nothing product like very few products are sold in MRP label. In offline, they have sold because this is actually customer get educated that okay, you will not pay more than what is written on the label. You have to define that this product is including this. So a brand, when they go to set up their MRP, they have to include all of their costing, their like product cost, their importing cost, their marketing cost, then their profit, and then it comes to MRP. Okay, and definitely when they start to sell on e-commerce platform, we will definitely ask that okay, you have to provide some discount from the MRP. This is how it like works. So import brands, lot of time they make their MRP like 4 to 6 times, whatever that is like on their costing. Then they come on a like recalculation. And during import, definitely your product have a MRP level. Without that, you cannot import. If you import like small package products or like directly the products which is going to sell in the market, you have to paste that MRP label and some details on this packaging. This will be guided whenever a like brand want to connect with us, they can connect with us. We will guide these things, how this leveling work. We can provide some sample and they can work on that. Yep.
Super. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sayan. I'm conscious we're getting very close to time, and I do want to provide a few minutes to Abhinav to provide some closing remarks. But I've also just highlighted a point you've mentioned on trade fairs, and I know Cosmoprof is coming up, which Abhinav might also just mention. But before I go to you, Abhinav, I want to just give my panel members, first off, a big thank you. But I want to just give, what is your final piece of advice to businesses that we have on on our call today? And I'd like to start with Aaron. What's your piece of advice to businesses that we have on the call?
Yeah, I think take your time to understand the market. Spend time in the market, and not just in the fancy hotels right beside the airport in Mumbai. Get out into to more than one city, get out into the different parts of the country, and then understand the business and the P&L of any partners that you're going to work with as well. We haven't really had a time to talk about pricing and import duties, apart from, for example, what Deep and Lucky have talked about. But from our side, we built a P&L together with our partner where we kind of tried to create as much transparency as possible on things, and then we found the right price point for me to sell to them and that sort of thing, where both groups could make some money. And it is challenging when import duties are up to 42%, 43%. So yeah, it's a matter of taking time to understand, seek to understand before being understood. Anyone that's read 7 Habits will understand that one, but that's really big, I'd say. That would be my advice. Thanks.
Thanks, Aaron. Deep. I'll let you come off mute. Deep, so you can share your final advice.
I'm so sorry. I was just extending what Aaron just mentioned, and I'm talking primarily from a marketing front here, that marketing your product in India is not going to be a spectator sport. You're going to be wanting to understand the audience by yourself, marry that with the product features, benefits that you have over there, and aid your partner in enabling them to sort of market your products well in the country. So don't treat it like a spectator sport is what I would like to mention. Yeah.
Very, very good. Thank you. Sayan, I'll go to you.
Definitely, I will take that you have to do a deep research on the market. Definitely, not only the research on your brands, do a research on your competitor brands, and also follow that what are the brands get success, what are the success stories, how they get success. If you learn those things, if you find those key sauce inside the success, your brand definitely will grow in India. And definitely we are here to help you out to understand how your brand can grow in the India. And definitely there is a sampling things is very like important when you want to like use your food products or like beauty products. Do small samples and do initial checks on your first visit in India. That how like it gonna grows, how like it can markets, because taste is really matter. Okay, so there is a difference between taste and difference between how Indian people take it up. So the culture. So you have to learn that and get it into it.
Super. And I will also just go on that taste. You have to factor in different parts of India. There is very different taste profiles. You can't just have one taste for all of India. It's great piece of advice there. Lucky.
Shiraz, I want to sign off on, all things right. India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. We are on the $5 trillion economy path, and, almost $2 trillion of it will come from e-commerce route. So I can highly recommend that the brands could enter into India with, that's the fastest route to entering into India. Try the e-commerce way, test the market, reach out a wider set of audience, and then, see how do you want to go into the physical space or the offline space. There are several opportunities, multiple marketplaces, D2C, quick commerce. Work closely with a partner who can guide you through your India journey and work out the best solution for it. And all the best and welcome to India.
Super. Love that. Thank you so much. Big thank you. Abhinav, if I can please invite you to provide your final closing remarks.
Thanks, Shiraz. And thanks to all the speakers who have really given some great nuanced understanding of India. And thanks to Shiraz as well to be able to bring out all these points in a very short period of time. Quick takeaways that I got from this very interesting session is, as we started, that it's not a T20 match, it is a test match. It is a long game in India, and KEVIN.MURPHY played the long game and it's reaping rewards. And I think a lot more stories can be built in. And thanks to all the speakers who are offering to support the companies who are looking at India. The depth of the market, the second point, the depth of the market is expanding. It's not one-off products that people are buying. It's not just Mumbai, Delhi that is buying. It's expanding rapidly. But as new companies, you have to look at a segmented market, that this is what I'm going to go after. Third is the value, I think, aspect, which is, I think, a big one, because looking at India, it's easy to get oh, sorry. Am I back now? I think. Yes. Okay. So I think it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's a massive market and we will be able to target that. But majority of the consumer is a value consumer. So which one are you targeting? And I think the storification part, which I really liked, and there's a great example. There is an Indian company which started, I think, a few years back, which the whole truth, and they started getting into peanut butter, chocolates, and whey protein, an area which is very crowded. But the story that they told, that why they deserve a 3x premium over the local brands of being natural, organic, chemical free, got picked up. I think they're valued over $100 million right now. And a lot of Queensland companies, Australian brands have that similar proposition. So being able to tell that story will make a big difference here. But of course, this is a lot more nuanced, and we cannot cover all of this in today's session. That's why there is a follow-up session, which is a lot more number controlled. So we will be capping the numbers for that to 30, maximum 30 companies, 30 attendees, and Andrew and Simon will share more details when in December we will launch that. We will do a deeper dive into which Indian platforms you can look at, what are the consumer preferences, what could be more strategic approach to the market. It will be a longer session, and companies who are serious about entering market should definitely attend that session. And finally, the 3 engagements that Trade and Investment Queensland is doing in the market in the next few months. Festival of Australia, actually, we are doing it in collaboration with Austrade, which is the federal government trade agency. And what we are doing there is bringing a lot of Indian students and parents who have aspirations to study abroad. And that is usually the target segment who's willing to try foreign companies, foreign brands, foreign products. So we are physically showcasing the products. This is happening, the first phase is happening in November, and then there are 2 more phases happening in the next year. The next one is Cosmo Pro, which is talked about. I think there are 4, 5 Queensland companies already coming in for the cosmetic show. And then there is a food show, Ahar, which is in March. And that is mainly going to focus on processed food, but there will be a segment for fresh produce as well. So just wanted to highlight these 3 engagements, that if any of these areas align with you, please reach out to the colleagues who have been talking to you on the chat, and we will take it forward. That's all I wanted to say, but really want to thank again all the speakers and Asialinks to bring this forum together, and most importantly, Andrew and his team who conceptualized this idea and got everyone interested into getting on the e-commerce train. Thanks, Shiraz.
Thank you so much, Abhinav and Shiraz, and all of our speakers today. Please join me in giving them a big online clap via your icon for Deep, Lucky, Sayan, and Aaron, and of course our partners Asialink for helping deliver today's session. So we will share and be in touch with an expression of interest. We encourage that you complete that. We hope that you can join us for our second facilitated session, which will be in early December. Thanks everyone for your time, and again, please connect with Trade and Investment Queensland, where we're here to help you enter the Indian market. Thanks again.
Thank you.